You reply to every message. You attend every event. You're surrounded by people, online and offline. And still, in the quiet moments, something feels missing. It's not that you're isolated. It's that you feel unseen, like you're performing your life on a stage full of people, but no one really hears your inner voice. No one sits in the pause between your words. This is a modern kind of loneliness. Not the absence of company, but the absence of depth. We've built lives filled with conversations, but starved of connection. We've mastered quick replies, but forgotten how to be present. We know how to share stories, but not silence. And deep down, many of us are wondering the same thing. Why do I still feel so alone? Sometimes we confuse visibility for closeness, but being seen doesn't always mean being known. You can be popular and still feel profoundly lonely. You can be admired and still feel like no one understands your insides. That's because loneliness isn't cured by how many people you're with. It's about how many layers of yourself you can actually bring into the room. In ancient Indian philosophy, there's a word, antaryami, the indwelling presence, the inner witness. It refers to the silent awareness within you that never leaves. When everything outside feels fragmented or false, this is the part of you that remains whole. The Gita doesn't call this loneliness, it calls it the self, Atma, the one who sits behind all experience, untouched and complete. The problem isn't that we're alone, it's that we've forgotten how to be with ourselves, and even more, how to let others meet us there. So the first shift begins not with others, but within. Start noticing how often you distract yourself when you're alone. The music always on, the scrolling before bed, the constant need to be in touch. None of these are wrong, but they can become habits that drown out your own inner voice. Instead of filling every silence, start by protecting just 5 minutes a day to sit with yourself. Not to fix, not to achieve, just to listen. The more at home you feel within, the less you'll chase belonging in spaces that can't give it. Loneliness deepens when connection becomes performance. When you can't share your truth because you think it'll make you look weak. When every conversation becomes about updates, achievements, advice, but never about being. And so we curate, we edit, we smile more than we mean to. We shrink parts of ourselves to fit the moment. And after enough time, even in the middle of a crowded room, we begin to feel like ghosts in our own lives. So here's a practice. In your next conversation with someone you trust, let yourself be a little more unpolished, a little more real. Say something you usually keep hidden, not for drama, but for depth. You'll notice something magical. When you drop the mask, others feel safer to drop theirs too. One honest sentence can open the door to an entirely different kind of connection. But what about relationships that still feel shallow, even after effort? Sometimes we're lonely, not because no one's around, but because we've outgrown the spaces we're in. The truth is, growth can be isolating. As you become more self-aware, more intentional, more inwardly anchored, you may find yourself longing for quieter, deeper company. That isn't failure. That's alignment calling. You don't need to abandon people, but you can start seeking new spaces. Join a circle, a class, a community, even virtually, where presence is valued over performance. Places where people meet not just to share what they've done, but to remember who they are. But also, remember this, even the most connected people still feel lonely sometimes. That's not a sign you're broken. It's a sign you're human. Even in Indian tradition, the gods retreat. Shiva into stillness, Hanuman into service, Sita into the forest. Solitude isn't a punishment, it's a sacred return. But only when you stop trying to fill the silence and start learning how to listen to it. You are not lonely because you're broken. You are lonely because your soul is tired of shallow things, tired of pretending, tired of half connections, tired of chasing presence in places that can only give you attention. What you are longing for is intimacy, not just with others, but with life, with truth, with yourself. So take small, sacred steps back home. Reclaim your attention, relearn your rhythms, rebuild your friendships not on performance, but presence. Create one ritual that brings you back to yourself, lighting a lamp each morning, walking at dusk without headphones, journaling a truth you haven't spoken out loud. Not to fix your loneliness, but to remember that connection begins within. There comes a time when you stop asking, "Why does no one understand me?" And you start asking, "Where am I not allowing myself to be known?" Because connection isn't just found, it's created through presence, through truth, through risk. The risk of being fully seen, the risk of asking deeper questions, the risk of showing up without a performance. And yes, not everyone will meet you there. Some people only know how to meet the version of you that performs. But your people, the ones who can hold your silence, sit with your shadows, laugh with your truth, they're not found by shouting louder. They're found when you begin to show up without needing to prove anything. So let your life become more honest. Let your relationships become slower, softer, more rooted. Let your alone time become sacred, not scary. And most of all, let yourself belong to you before you try to belong anywhere else. Because the opposite of loneliness is not company, it's communion. And it begins the moment you stop abandoning yourself. Sit with that. Then slowly begin again.